One of the greatest challenges humans have today is food production. It should be safe, available, healthy. 7.7 billion people need something to eat. And we have a great challenge speaking about the food engineering. And I'm very proud to introduce you just very special guest we have today. Please meet Professor Emeritus of Food Innovation and Technology, the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, Sam Saguy. Hello, Sam.
Hello.
Sam, at the beginning I would like to ask you to share with us your experience of visiting Russia. So, what's your expression of our country?
Well, it's first of all, let me say it's a pleasure to be here. This is my first visit to Russia and to Moscow, but I hope it's going to be the beginning of a long, repeating history here. The main purpose of my visit is to visit the EFKO Research Center and trying to understand where they are, trying to provide some ideas and solutions about the future, and to make some recommendation how they can improve their way of thinking, the strategic approach, and also the utilizing the trends and the technology and innovation that is available today.
Mm-hmm. And how do you define food engineering? Let's imagine that we need to explain this term to a broad audience.
Well, food engineering is a term that is very difficult to explain and easy to explain. Most of the people are familiar with chemical engineering, that they are processing chemicals. Mm-hmm. We are processing the same thing, but we are producing food. So anything that relates to the production of food, all the way from the field, all the way to the people eating it, it's our role. And we look on the raw material, we look on the processing, we look on the consumer, we look on the nutrition and health, and everything is involved. So we're looking on all aspects of food related to consumer health and well-being.
Okay, I see. And you have just said that we need to change our mind. And how does it look in reality? So what exactly should we change?
Well, like in any other business, when you're growing from, let's say, 10 people to 100 people to 1,000 people, the way of thinking has to be different. Nowadays, we're looking into a completely new consumer. A person that knows a lot about his health, about his nutrition, about what is good for him, what is not good for him or her. And so the way that we have produced in the past, that we produce and somebody consumes that, this is not working anymore. Now we have to be very close to the consumer and address his or her wishes to comply and give him the opportunity that they would be happy to have it. One thing I have to make sure that we understand, food is not a medicine. Food is food. We eat that to have pleasure, to share that with the family, and it's not only the energy side of that. So we have to be more sophisticated in what we propose, the variety and the type of foods that we are offering.
On the one hand, food provides us with the supplements to build the cells, but you, if I understood you rightly, you propose to look a little bit broader on this.
Yeah, because nowadays food is abundant. Most of the countries, and I think Russia and my country, other countries, are in the situation that you go to the supermarket and you have a variety to select from. So poverty, although it exists, it's limited. So if you have such a large variety, the question is what you're going to choose. And today we're moving more and more that people are going to choose the product that they feel is going to contribute for their health. And when you say health, prevention of diseases, feeling energetic, feeling happy, feeling good, and having the ability to do what they want to do in their life.
I think everybody agrees that innovations are very important in any field, but in food production they have something special.
Yeah, I think
what makes them special?
First of all, innovation is a term that everyone uses. Rightly so or not rightly so, everyone uses, and I think it has more and more application. If you don't innovate, you are not going to exist in this business. It's a very tough, competitive business, and we have to make the changes required to comply with the innovation, not only in the food industry, but also in analytics, in nutrition, in medicine, in computer. Every food relates to food. Now, what innovation means for us is not only the efficiency of production, but also how we're going to do that in a sustainable way. That means that we are not going to deplete water, energy, and we're going to provide for the next generation. And secondly, we are going to give the people the product, range of products that they are going to enjoy and maintain their healthiness and wellness.
And speaking globally, where we are right now in food engineering, can you just assign status to this?
Well, that's a very tough question, but I would say food engineering is progressing along quite well, and it's a core profession to any food industry around the globe. Some of us are called not food engineer, but food technologist. There is a food science related to that, but we do almost the same thing. So you have three different professions: food engineering, food technology, and food science, that are combined, almost combined together.
But anyway, if we just name three status, growth, stagnation, so how would you describe the current situation?
Of what? Of growth? The situation of growth? Well, any company, any public or non-public company, if it doesn't grow, is going to really close down. In order to survive in the competitive market today, companies need to grow. That means they have to expand their range of products, they have to expand their income, they have to look into different niches or different markets and so on. So you have to grow. It's either you eat another competitor or you've been eaten. That's the situation. It's competition. It's the number one game in the field, and food engineering or food at all, the same thing, is in the same situation.
A couple of years ago, you coined a new term, engionomics. Could you explain, please, what does it mean?
Engionomics combines two things. It combines engineering and omics. And the reason for that is that nowadays we know that not everything that we are eating is bioavailable. Bioavailable is a term that defines what percentage or what quantity of the food is going to be absorbed by the body. For instance, if we're adding some nutrients to a product, we can eat it, but nothing is going to be absorbed. So the issue today is not what we eat, is the uptake. It's what drives that is what is bioavailable to us. So engionomics looks on the processing side and the omics side and try to combine it together, that we have processes that are producing food that are going to be bioavailable and are going to address the needs of the consumers.
Okay, I see. And you have just tremendous background in academic and in industrial research. And could I ask you about the so-called big food brands?
Well, thank you for the compliment. I'm not sure I deserve it, but anyway.
What are the future of big food brands within the context of food engineering?
Let me give you an example which I think is the outlier, and this is Nestle, because they are incredibly one of the most sophisticated, advanced companies. First of all, the size of that is more than 100 billion euro. Okay, so it's huge. It's number one. Secondly, they believe that food consists of not only food science, nutrition, engineering, but also medicine and many other disciplines. And they combine everything together because they have the capacity and capability to hire the best people in the best fields that are related to them. So their research is really outstanding. And when we're talking about big companies like Nestle, they are in every area that provides health. Let me give you an example. When a Nestle product goes to the market, they have a principle that is called 60-40 plus. The 60-40 plus means that in a sensory test, hedonic test, that any consumer is going to be given a sample of Nestle and a competitor. The preference is going to be 60% for Nestle product, and on top of that means that it has an additional positive contribution. It's the nutrition part. So that's our philosophy. Not all the products maintain that or provide that, but at least this is where they look to be, or this is their aspiration to be.
And how about small and middle companies? Do they have a chance to?
Yes, yes. Well, you have to, the European definition, there is the SME, which is small, medium enterprise, but includes the micro, the very small, and the medium. So we're talking about 1 to 2, 3, 10 people, all the way to 1,000 people. This is the definition. The small ones, they don't have the resources, they don't have the time, they don't have the manpower and the capability, so they are surviving. They do what they do best, and that's the best they can do. The middle ones, they have sufficient, sometimes sufficient resources, so they can develop few new things. But if you like to look for major progress, you look to the big one or the startups. In most cases, the startups are going to be eaten by the big ones. Once a big company identifies that there is a bright future to a startup, immediately they are going to be acquired or they're trying to acquire it.
What does prevent food engineering from growth?
In my humble opinion, I never run companies that size, but I believe, and I strongly believe, in two elements. First one is the management, and second one is the people. If you have good management that looks into the future, has the right strategy and vision, and on top of that knows how to select its people and invest in them and educate them and let them grow, then there's nothing really to hold them back.
And speaking about changes, I think there are two ways how we can change something. I would name it evolution or revolution. So speaking about the food engineering, innovations, how everything will be going?
You touched on an issue that every company wants to be very innovative, and they put that on the label and so on, but not all of them are doing that. So evolution it's mixed. Normally, the terms that we're using today for innovation is incremental and disruptive. The incremental means that we are doing small steps along the way. Disruptive means that we are doing something completely that is going to disrupt the business and is going to change the business completely. For instance, if you're looking on the disk, it completely disrupts the record industry. Now they're coming back. But it's almost impossible to go to a store now and buy any records today that we used in the past, because the disc is better, the quality is better, and so on. So obviously this is a disruptive. There are many examples of disruptive innovation. The food industry doesn't have that many disruptive innovations. Normally it's small changes.
And what are the key technologies in food industry that are growing right now?
Well, right now, and I'm talking about the advanced countries, the focus is mainly on certain areas. Number one is sustainability, which means that we have to be very careful with the resources that we are using. energy, water, land, and so on. So that would be the first one, and in order to comply with that, we need to develop new technologies like high pressure, like ultrasound, like many other things that we are trying now in order to prevent the high temperature retort process that we had in the past. Okay.
Okay, I see. And so you teach students, and what are the hottest professions right now? And speaking about the professionals, are there enough amount for food industry, for innovations?
Yes and no. I can tell you as a fact, at least in Israel, we are missing a lot of food engineers and good food scientists in the profession. And the reason is very simple, is that there are severe competition with other more appealing fields. For instance, you go into brain surgery, you go into medicine, you're going into all this electronic and all the computer sciences and so on. So obviously that has a bigger appeal than working in the food industry or research. But I strongly believe that if you start early and attract the young generation and provide them with a program that they can fit in and understand and like, then you're going to cultivate them and have them in the end as really very high potential professionals. The other thing is that, and nowadays is very popular, is that students, graduates are traveling around the world. They do a master here, they do some research here, they meet with other people, other scientists, and that creates and increases their capacity to be able to compete on an international arena.
Okay, Sam, thank you very much for your time, for your answers. I'm absolutely sure that the information you provided just will be very important.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. And it didn't hurt. Thank you.